Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Stitch and Style by me, Nadia, and today I've got a vlog talking all about my dress for the Dressmakers Ball, which you might have seen if you follow me over on Instagram. I am so proud of the dress that I created, and I talked about it so excitedly yesterday to camera, and I forgot to do a little bit of an intro and outro, so I'm just jumping on today to record a little introduction. Now, the Dressmakers Ball happens every year, and it takes place in Leicester in the fabulous City Rooms, and it's such a lovely, beautiful venue inside and out. And a huge thanks to the Crafty So-and-so for putting on such a fabulous event. I also wanted to say a huge congratulations to all of the winners of the various categories. They all looked absolutely fantastic and were very well deserved. I loved the catwalk. It's a real highlight of the event, seeing everybody's garments. A big shout out to Katie, the little walking foot, who doesn't actually live too far away from me. She absolutely bossed the catwalk. Yes, me and my husband voted her for best catwalk. I also wanted to say thank you to my friend Vicky, who came with me and my husband to the event, and also to Bianca, who is B Silver Creates over on YouTube and on Instagram. Everybody's outfits were absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure you've enjoyed seeing them either in person at the event or over on Instagram. Without further ado, I'll insert the clip that I recorded yesterday talking about my dress. So the inspiration started from, well, last year attending the Dressmakers Ball, because if you've been watching me since way back then, you may remember that it was all a very last minute decision when I decided to go to the Dressmakers Ball last year. I think I had about 3 weeks to go when I booked my tickets, and I only had one of the weekends free in order to make a dress. I made a Vogue dress. I wasn't 100% happy with the fabric. I was happy-ish with how the outfit turned out, but while I was there, I just got so much inspiration from everybody, and I was so wowed by everybody's outfits that I thought, right, I'm going to go next year and I'm going to think about my dress, get my dream ball gown. And yes, so I've been thinking about it ever since I attended the Dressmakers Ball last year. So I think it was then towards the winter when, I think it might have even been Black Friday. I've always loved the fabric Cobra Corsage. I've seen lots of other people make it and talk about it, and I thought that Cobra Corsage would make the perfect ball gown. I purchased, I think it was 7 meters of Cobra Corsage last year. So I had plenty of fabric to do exactly what I want with it. I've been keeping my eyes peeled on Instagram since then for some inspiration on a dress pattern that I could make, and I didn't see something exactly what I wanted, but I fell in love with this dress the moment I saw it. And it's the Vogue 1934. So there's a collar stand, a front and a back yoke. It's got rouleau loops and little buttons down the front on the original dress, and it's got a waistband. Now, that waistband isn't supposed to sit at your natural waist. It is empire line, so it sits quite high. And it's got some lovely long sleeves with a cuff and 2 little buttons, and it actually closes with an invisible zip down the centre back, so the buttons on the front are just for decoration, really. And I think I shared in one of my videos actually that I loved this dress and I had some special plans for it. So I think I got the fabric first, then I got the pattern, but I knew I didn't want to do that skirt on it. I wanted a big full skirt, and I was thinking about whether to do a circle skirt, but me and maths don't really mix all that well, so I was a little bit scared about doing a circle skirt. Never done a circle skirt before, and because I wanted it floor length, I knew I would have to do it in quite a few panels, and the letting the hem drop on the circle skirt filled me with dread, to be honest, and it just seemed like so much brain power would be required to work out how to do it all, that in the end I took inspiration actually from an Instagram post, and I don't know the Instagram handle, but I will just put it along here. I know that he makes patterns and I would love to get the pattern, although I don't think the pattern for this dress is actually on his website. Well, it wasn't when I checked. He might have since released it. And when he releases that pattern, I'm definitely going to buy it, because I love like a high neckline, I love long sleeves, and I love a maxi dress. So I took some inspiration from that. Now you can see on the inspiration there's some ribbon around each of the tiers, but I've not done that. I just decided to self-draft the skirt, and that did require some maths, and I also needed to check how much fabric I needed before I started to cut into the fabric. But first I wanted to check the bodice and see whether I liked it, see whether it fit, see whether I needed to make any adjustments to the bodice. I cut a size 14, and that's mainly based on the measurements that it gives on the pattern pieces for the finished garment measurements. I know it's not supposed to be super fitted over the bust area, so I knew there was maybe going to be a little bit of room, so mainly I went on the waist measurement, and I think the finished garment measurements for the size 14 was a 30-inch waist, which I thought was maybe about right, and I thought, oh, I can just tweak, because it allows a 5/8 seam allowance. I thought I can just like take it in slightly if I need to, or let it out slightly. And I know from making a Vogue pattern before, which was my jumpsuit, that the size 14 fit really well on the waist measurement. So I thought I would go with the size 14 and see whether I maybe need a small bust adjustment, or maybe I need extra room at the top. Anyway, I tried it and it fit really nicely everywhere, and I was really happy with it. I showed it my husband, and I'm glad that I did, because he said, oh, the zip at the back is sticking out. And I couldn't really see it on myself because it was down the centre back. But then when he pointed it out and I went and had a look in the mirror, I could see what he was meaning. So the waistband was sitting all nicely, but then the zip kind of did that. So I thought, I need a sway back adjustment. I need to take some of the length out of the zip. So I undid it all, took some length out of the centre back, I did a sway back adjustment on it, and I took out 2.5 centimetres, put it all back together again, zipped it up, and it was still sticking out. So I thought at this point, right, I'm going to have to undo it all again. And I'd already made a few mistakes with the toile anyway, getting the invisible zip in. So I was getting a little bit frustrated, but thought, no, persevere. Let's take it apart again, and let's take some more out of the centre back, see if we can get it to fit. So while I was doing this adjustment, I did think to myself, I should cut both sides of the bodice off at the same time, just so I can make sure that I'm taking off the same amount on both sides. And yes, I should have listened to myself as I did it, but I thought, oh no, it will be fine. Well, you know what happened is that I cut double off the left and nothing off the right. So when I went to put it all back together and get all the seams to line up on the centre back, oh, well, one was I'd taken off altogether 7.5 centimetres out of the centre back, and one I'd taken off 2.5 centimetres out of the centre back. So, yes, I couldn't test it, I didn't know, but I thought I haven't got time to undo all this, recut 2 back bodice pieces, and it's all attached with the burrito method, so it would be unpicking all of the yoke, and I thought I haven't got time to do all that. Let's just start on the main thing, and I can always just take a little bit more out if I need to. But I decided to take out 4.5 centimetres. I just went for it, and I started sewing it actually at Christine's social. Christine is the Gemini stitcher, and I know a few of you have come over to my channel from her, so a big thanks, Christine, for giving me quite a few shout outs now, and thanks to everybody who's come over to check out my channel. So yes, I started my bodice there, and I was working and I was really concentrating, getting all nice and neat. So made up the bodice and the 2 tiers of the skirt. The problem that I had with the zip sticking out was totally fixed, and really happy with it all. Now, that's not to say that the whole dress came together completely smoothly, because I did have a little bit of an issue with the pattern placement. So the first thing that I noticed, there was one of these big white roses, and I'll show you on the fabric here. One of these big white roses was, and that's upside down, but you get the idea, was right in the centre, right on my belly button. So I was kind of like, it really just like hit you in the eye when you looked at the dress, because with a bold pattern like this, I didn't bother doing any pattern matching at the front or anything, but with a bold pattern you do have to be quite careful about pattern placement, and I really was thinking about it when I cut out the fabric for the bodice and for the sleeves and things, about where the big statement bits of the pattern were landing. But when you're gathering, it's so difficult to imagine where they're going to line up, although I should have known with this white rose that was right in the middle. So I decided to recut that top tier and redo that. So I redid that and then proceeded with the rest of the tiers of the skirt, and it was just gathering for hours and hours and hours, as you can imagine. Finished it and hemmed it. Then I noticed that on the 3rd and the 4th tier there was a pattern repeat right next to each other on one side and also on the other side. So I wasn't happy with that, and I decided to move the tier. So I had to unpick the whole of the tier, and I think it's about 7 meters of fabric, 7 meters of unpicking, and then I had to do all the gathering again and reattach it again. And I was part way through reattaching it when I got another big pattern repeat close together, so I had to unpick it all and redo it all. So yeah, that was the main challenge of completing the dress, to make sure that the pattern repeats were like nicely spaced out. And it is so hard to visualize when you've got 7 meters of fabric and you're gathering it where the pattern repeats are going to end up. So I mean, I wouldn't say the pattern repeats are perfect. That comes back down to not thinking about that when I was at the cutting out stage, and where the seams of the pattern are going to be, and also about what order I attach the fabric pieces in together. I don't know whether I'm explaining all that very well, but maybe if you're working with like a bold pattern, maybe those are some of the things that maybe to think about. The other thing that has affected the look on the final dress, but I'm not too disappointed about, I wanted the tiers to be of equal length. So the 5 tiers to be equally divided with the length of the skirt. And I got down to the 4th tier, and then the 5th tier had to be much shorter than the other tiers. I don't really feel like you can tell, it's such a big skirt, and I've not got anything that really stands out on that seam. I think if I was doing it with the ribbon, I think you would really notice it, and I would have had to have changed it. But I didn't feel so strongly about it that I wanted to go back and change it, but if I was to do it again, I would pay a little bit closer attention to my measurements. Now, I did measure from the bottom of the waistband to the floor, and I asked my husband to help me, and added on all of the seam allowances, but I think maybe it was the weight of the fabric with maybe just being slightly generous on my measurements that meant that the tier is probably about 10 centimetres shorter than the other tiers when it was fully assembled. So, and the back skirt is longer than the front, because when I asked my husband to help me to hem it, at the front I only needed to take it up like 4 centimetres, so I had like a 2 centimetre fold and then another 2 centimetre fold, whereas at the back it probably was about it probably needed an 8 centimetre hem, but I just hemmed it equally all the way over, and I was going to call it just a little bit of a train. It might have just like dragged on the floor a little bit, but I was happy with the length because I wanted it with my high heel shoes on just to be skimming the floor, and it worked out that that's what it did. When I first tried it on, without any undergarments, obviously apart from my bra and knickers, I was happy with it, but I felt like there was something missing. So I ordered myself a puffy underskirt to wear underneath it, and as soon as I put that on, it kind of just made the dress, took it to that next level, I think, anyway. And yeah, I thought this is exactly the look I'm going for, and I decided to put on a belt with it for my final outfit, and it was all sparkly. I asked my husband what he thought, with or without the belt. He preferred it with the belt. He said it broke it up a little bit. Also emphasises the waist and brings a little bit of sparkle to proceedings. And I matched it with some silver jewellery, necklace and earrings. And I also extravagantly bought a sparkly bag as well to go with it, and I think that just sets off the outfit lovely. I did use the same shoes and the same little gilet that I got last year to go to the Dressmakers Ball. I reused those, and I will reuse those again as well as my bag. It's not just going to be a one outfit wonder. Let me just talk in a few more details about the dress and show you close up some of the details. On this dress I've got covered buttons, and it was the first time I ever did covered buttons, and I actually found it quite straightforward. This fabric does actually fray a little bit, so the only thing that I found a little bit tricky was getting it all tucked in without all bits fraying around, and I found it best to do a little basting stitch all the way around the edge of the fabric. Not too close to the edge because otherwise it can fray, but then to gently just, when you've put the button in, gently just tug on the ends of the fabric and it will kind of close around, and then to put it in the little pressing tool and to, you know, fix it all together. And the other thing that I thought I would do, which I've not seen anybody else do, but I thought it was a good idea anyway, was to just make it that little bit extra secure, was when I had pulled on my threads and the fabric was wrapped around the button, before I put the back in and clipped that in, is that I put just a tiny drop of glue on the fabric and then pushed the back in using the tool, and I thought that would just make it a little bit extra secure if it was kind of glued in place as well. So yeah, that's what I did, and I've not had any disasters with that yet. My invisible zip, that went in okay. Now we've got this rose coloured zip, and I got that from Sherwood's actually. Yeah, a little bit fancy I thought. Rather than just plain black, I've got this rose coloured zip pull, and I've matched up my seams pretty well. If I pull it apart, you can just see the teeth there, but I'm thinking it's fairly invisible. My seams there match up not too bad, and just going down to the waistband, again, don't think that's too bad, and there we go, that's not too bad as well. So obviously I had to do the zip twice because I had to take the tear off, like I told you earlier, because I wasn't happy with the pattern placement at the front. So that wasn't my first time of installing the zip, and actually I think my first time was actually a little bit better. I mean, it's always gutting when you have to redo something you've done perfectly. I mean, if it wasn't done perfectly the first time, I wouldn't have minded ripping it out and doing it again, but when it was done perfectly but there was just another issue, then it was painful to remove the zip. The only thing that I think a mistake I kind of made with the zip is I kind of made the edges a little bit too close to the top. So I should have just put it maybe another 1 centimetre down for it to be perfect. But yeah, I mean, I managed to like also just sew it down into place. So yeah, I mean, it does stick up very slightly at the top there, which, yeah, I'm maybe a little bit disappointed with that, but you can't see it from, like, you can only see that really close up. The other thing that I did with the buttons was there's only supposed to be 3 buttons on here, but if you know me, I don't really like a low top. So I decided there was where I was comfortable with, and I've slip stitched all that together so this doesn't come apart, so there's no chance of it all falling open and, you know, people see my bra or anything. But when I'd sewn all that up, I decided it looked silly because my button, there was only 3 buttons on here. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then I wanted it to stay in place all the way up to here. But I thought, well, you can't have a button, your last button there, and it being done up into here. That doesn't make any sense. So I thought I had to add another button in. So I did this rouleau loop. I had to unpick this side here and just slot in the rouleau loop, and yeah, then put on the button. And ideally, if I'd thought about it a little bit more, I probably would have spaced them out so the button actually finished more at the point where I wanted the opening to be. So yeah, because there's a little bit of just a drop there. So yeah, that was just one of the things that I did to kind of finish the bodice off nicely. So I put a lot of thought into this dress, and it was months and months and months in the planning, but I'm absolutely delighted with it, and I hope you can see the impact that it kind of made. And yeah, it gave me so much confidence as I walked down the catwalk, and I'll hopefully have inserted some videos and some photos of me wearing the dress. The other thing that I made for my husband, and I don't have it with me because Ben's shirt needs washing, is that I made him a matching shirt. Now it was in black cotton lawn, so a lovely lightweight material, and he always prefers short sleeves, which makes it actually much easier to do a short sleeve shirt than it does to do a long sleeve shirt. And I used the Cobra Corsage fabric on the yoke for him and on the pocket, and I was really pleased with the pocket. I just think that I would spend ages like thinking about the pattern placement on that as well, and I'm really pleased with that. And also made him a tie. So the shirt pattern that I used was the Cameron button up, which is by Helen's Closet. Yeah, I've made him plenty of those shirts before, so I won't go into all the details about that. That would be very boring. But it's the first time I've ever made a tie, and I used the sew over it pattern for the tie because I wanted just to be certain. I was really short on time. I made it just this week on Wednesday, and I wanted to just trust the pattern, and I thought with sew over it I can trust the pattern is going to be good, and there's going to be good instructions. It's going to be quite a straightforward pattern. It actually had it down as an absolute beginner pattern. Now I think maybe it requires a little bit more experience than absolute beginner because you're cutting a tie on the bias, and I think there was some tricky little things in there. The other thing that it called for to kind of line the tie or put inside the tie is a fabric that I'd never heard of before, and it's called Demet. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'll just put the pronunciation of it down here. And I had absolutely no clue where to get this fabric from, and I thought, oh, maybe I could just use some interfaced other fabric. I could just interface, you know, some cotton and pop that in it. But when I was googling it, it said like it was kind of like a fluffy fabric, and I googled, you know, what can you use instead of Demet. I saw the suggestion of getting a tie from a charity shop and opening that up and maybe using what's inside, and I thought, that's a good idea. So I raided Ben's wardrobe and found an old tie and decided to open that up. And I opened that up, and it inside was kind of like a spongy material. I don't know whether it is Demet or not. It might just be a different kind of fibre. Maybe it's a synthetic fibre actually, because it does have kind of a sponginess that I don't think you would get with an actual fibre. But I just decided to use that. Now the tricky thing was that obviously that was a certain length and size, and the sew over it pattern was not the same length and size, so I kind of had to do a few adjustments. I had to cut a little bit of the kind of the inside of the fabric to make it match the sew over it pattern. I did it all in a little bit of a rush. Now it's meant that the small end is just not the neatest, and I ended up actually cutting it straight off. I did put the lining in, but it didn't look very neat, and in the end I just decided to cut it off and make it straight, and I thought nobody's ever going to see that. I didn't admit to anybody at the Dressmakers Ball that, or show them my mistake, because I thought nobody needs to see it. But I will share with my viewers that yes, that was not my neatest work, but I was quite pleased with the pattern placement on the tie, and how the tie looked in the end was lovely, and I really appreciated my husband matching me for the Dressmakers Ball. He didn't do the catwalk with me, he let me do the catwalk by myself. Yeah, he was a little bit shy and embarrassed about coming to do the catwalk with me, which I totally understand. And but it was lovely of him to accompany me to the ball. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my dress and about the shirt and the tie that I created for my husband. I know that I've had a little bit of a break from YouTube, and yeah, I'm really happy to be back, but I did need a little bit of a break. I have got so much that I want to update you on. There has been a lot going on, and I've run 2 socials, but the most exciting thing that's happened is my sister has started dressmaking. She's a school teacher, so in the summer holidays we were able to spend some time together, and I was teaching her how to sew, and she's made some fantastic garments that have been really well made, really well fitting, and it's just so nice to share my love of dressmaking and sewing with my sister. So hi if you're watching, Hannah. I've also booked tickets to the Knitting and Stitching show, and I'm going on the Saturday in Harrogate. If you're going, I would love to meet you there. I'm going to sign off for now, but thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.